on behalf of the IFFK and the Chalichitra Academy, I welcome you both to this discussion. Unfortunately, this year, because a lot of people could not travel, we are recording these discussions online and putting them online. So you'll see them on the YouTube channel, on our YouTube channel, so on and so forth. Nandini is, of course, a very well-known critic and has been working closely with the festival for many years. Lijo, of course, needs no introduction as the new face of Malayalam cinema. He is, I think, known all over now. He's won numerous awards. And what I think I need to say is that very specially we thank you from the IFFK for keeping the Churli premiere for us. That's really important that you kept it for the Kerala Film Festival because for us, actually, Malayalam cinema is such an important thing. And so we thank you for that. And we'd really love to hear this discussion and know what went behind the making of the film and what you have to say. So thanks so much to both of you for being here. And I'll now leave you to the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Beena. Thank you, Beena, and thank you, IFFK, for this wonderful opportunity. Hello, Lijo. Having followed your films for a long time, Churli was a really fascinating experience. When I watched it, there were so many reactions I had to it. It had elements of a thriller. It had elements of a folk horror film almost. There was an existential quest going on within the film. And then there was a science fiction element, which I wanted to ask you sort of, were all these elements there in the story on which you have based the film?
I should say not exactly. The short story don't have all these elements, like you said, the horror, science fiction, thriller kind of elements. But it was more of a existential issue discussed in the story, like two policemen chasing a convict in loose, and finally they end up doing the same kind of crimes which the convict has committed. So, but we have put together all these elements of science fiction and thriller and such things around it, and combinedly to give a different kind of a setting, which is very unusual for a Malayalam cinema. To set the whole idea in a ground like this, which gives you a lot of surprises, I guess.
Yeah. I, of course, immediately went online and started Googling Churli, Kerala, and of course, I didn't find the place. So tell us about what kind of a place is this? Your film is open to multiple interpretations, but at one level, is it is it a holding zone for criminals? Is it a purgatory? Is it a place where judgment is given? What is it? Or is it one long bad dream? What is going on in the space?
Churli, there is a actual place called Churli. For me, Churli is something like a spiral or a labyrinth where you enter and you lose track of your journey.
Right.
So, but at the same time, as you said, the existential question for everyone remains in the film and the story, like how it is discussed in religious texts like Bible, like heaven, hell, and purgatory, like how the whole idea shaped within me from the last two of my films, like Himayo Jellikattu and Churli. I would love to keep it together to form a trilogy, which we hadn't planned when we started Himayo. But all these films have something common in it, which is life, death, and afterlife. So what is beyond is a question in all these films, according to me. So it's better to keep it undefined. I say, so that when every single person who watch the film or think about it will have to answer all these questions, or rather find answers of these questions by themselves. So that is where the film has its uh, unique setting, I guess.
Right. The setting, of course, the physical location of the film is so important to what goes on in it. Did you shoot at the high range, I believe? So tell me about how you found this location.
We did. A lot of people said that when I have not come down the hills, since Jallikattu, but it is of course somewhere close to where we shot Jallikattu, that is Katappana. This is a place called Kulamava. Kulamava is in Idukki. We went deep inside the forest and shot it deep inside. They have a tribal setting in there, and a lot of these actors are actual people from the tribal settlement. Like, for example, the lady, the person who works in the toddy shop is a person from the tribal setting, and the man who everyone fears is the Mopan of their tribe. And a lot of other people have acted in it who happen to be this greatly talented people who happen to be the first time actors in the film. But I'm sure they all have given a very new look to this kind of a cinema.
Right, right. So one of the key scenes in it is that scene where you go from one world to another. The scene where the jeep goes over that very small and precarious bridge. It looks like it's going to fall any minute. Could you tell me about filming that scene?
According to me, the bridge scene, which transports you from the real world to the to a world which is not so real, rather a place of lot of mysteries. So that particular bridge in the film, for me, worked like a transportation to the other world. So we actually looked out for a lot of bridges in and around that place to shoot this without spending a penny, because when the film itself was like a very small film when we started it. So later we had to set up the whole bridge and do the shoot. And I have to thank what do you say, our art director Gokul Das, who was our art director in the last film also, Jallikattu. But I have to say this because a lot of people haven't noticed his work in Jallikattu, and haven't noticed his work in Churli either, because it doesn't look like sets.
Exactly.
He is so good that for example, the toddy shop in the film, Pengal Tanga's house, which is like a spaceship in itself. The bridge, the last sequence of Jallikattu, the bull itself, and he has done such fabulous work and has gone unnoticed. So I have to take his name and thank and congratulate him for the kind of work he has done for both these films. So talking about the bridge, I would say we took only 3 or 4 hours to shoot it, because of the fight master, Jolly master, and the guy who played the driver, who himself was a stunt artist. Artist as in he does a bit of stunts. So he drove it himself when we did that. And I had to attend a function that evening in Trivandrum, so I had to leave by around 2 o'clock that day. So Yeah, that's about the bridge. And the bridge is no more because we had to take it off because we made it over a stream, which is there.
Right. Right. Amazing. Um, Tell us about the kind of visual ideas you discussed with Madhu Nilakandan. Just not only in terms of the lighting, but also in terms of the kind of framing, because there are many shots that are long, long takes, uninterrupted takes, a lot of fluid camera movement, and the kind of lenses that you've used in this.
Madhuchetan just painted Churuli, I would say. I would love to say that because we discussed about the kind of feeling we should have when you watch Churuli, the greenery around, the lush, and uh, the fear and mystery you should feel around the film. So such things came in some so smoothly in the film because of his work, I would say. And I'm sure when he works with a lot of preparation in most of the films, and in Churli or my way of working is, I mean, has a lot of spontaneity and impulse in it. So we matched it we found a balance by the end of the film, and I'm sure 18, 19 days uh, bringing all this out. And most of our night sequences also, I would say we shot it somewhere in the middle of night and day, and made it look that clean. So all these are like his his work, and I'm really glad that when I got an opportunity to got him get him on board and get this kind of a result, because when that is something which everyone discuss when I discuss about Churli to someone. Yeah.
Right. So you have a reputation for shooting very fast. I mean, I find it hard to believe this film is made in under 20 days. How does this happen? Do you do a lot of prep work? How do you do it?
That is something which because I just want to see the film as fast as possible, an idea in mind. I mean, as quickly as possible on screen. So maybe that makes it faster. So at times it's too quick for everyone around. I feel, but uh, I mean that is the kind of pace it happens, and it's not something which we rush in. We take our own sweet time and shoot all this. It is just that when we get enough of our material, we stop. We don't just overshoot things. Um, Maybe because of that. And in this film, I'm saying that this is one film we had shot things more than what we required. So we have more material to add to what we have made right now.
So, which means that this approach necessitates the involvement of an editor who really is seeing the film through your eyes, right?
Of course, Deepu has worked with me from Imayo, and his eye for great shots and the right pick of shots is amazing. And it's not only just the right shots uh, to cut it in such a way that to make it look smooth. I mean, not to make you feel a cut is also important. And Churli, according to me, is more of a edit film. Then, I mean, see, we had the line of the film, we had the screenplay, but I mean, we did a lot of jumbled up play in the actual edit table, which gave us endless possibilities for the film. And I'm sure that when every time when we go back to the rushes, we can make a new possibility.
So there can be versions of Churuli with different endings, different openings.
Of course, when I'm sure I'll put it out in the open at some point and ask everyone to make a version of Churli, like a Rubik's cube, which is like.
So with this kind of mixture of improvisation and choreography that you have in your films, how do you handle your actors, since so many of them are non-professionals and many of them are professionals? So how do you handle them?
All I do is not to make them feel that they're doing the toughest job on earth. I mean, just to make them feel comfortable, and I give a lot of freedom for the actors when they perform. I don't tie them up in a line and make them move according to my tune. It is more of their way of putting it across, but I just need the communication right. So it makes them more comfortable, I guess. And uh, it's very intuitional and on the spot kind of improvisations. What happens? It comes from them. It comes from everyone around. It comes from each and every person around, actually. So I mean, it's a combined effort. I mean, to make each person perform in a certain way, which fits the kind of film it is.
So coming back to Churli, excuse me, was there any particular scene where this approach that you just spoke about? Can you give an example, perhaps, of any scene where this happens?
For example, see the sequence when Joju appears in Churli. So that was a very important sequence where so we just decided to go haywire with everyone abusing each other. And it so happened that when it was just like everyone exploding themselves with words. So it so happened that when I had to like put a little control in the film itself, that when I had to create a sounding for the entire sequence, and a few sequences where the verbal diarrhea, I would say, was too much. So, but when on the go, we found a language in itself, which I called Churalalam. So
you should patent it.
I'm bettering it. I mean, I would say that by the time it releases in theater, it will shape into a very interesting language sound. Yeah.
So
I got a lot of indifferences from people that when I mean the sounding is not right in places, but I'm working on it. Yeah.
Right.
By the time of release, it'll definitely sound like a language.
Right. One, of course, very interesting element in it, without giving too much of the film away for people who haven't seen it yet, is this science fiction element. You know, there is fantasy and there are nightmares, and then it goes into some completely other zone, almost like watching Repo Man, you know, Alex Cox's Repo Man or something. There's suddenly this moment that transports you. Why did you want that element in this film?
See, for me, this one genre, like thriller, horror, science fiction, and all these had always excited me as a filmmaker. And I mean, whenever I neared making a horror or science fiction, I was not excited with the whole idea. So all I thought was, when if I make something in that zone, when it needs to be set in the native. At the same time, it should have these elements around, which is more atmospheric and not just giving jump scares. So that should remain with the audience as a sound, as a visual, as a thought for a long time. So it should come in their dreams as a place and a sound. So we have picked such interesting sounds and visuals, and like very key settings we have played little overboard with the kind of idea it was. And so that was just to give people more space to think and go go weird about their idea on the film. Yeah.
Right. So some of the critiques of the film have talked about the fact that Churuli is using elements that we've already seen in Imayu and Jallikattu. You
Yeah.
did mention a sort of trilogy, but
Yeah.
have you heard this also, that you are getting repetitive?
See, like I said, I mean, it was without my knowledge, I would say. I mean, see, for me, I mean, I'm just seeing it shaped into a one piece with a lot of these small elements around it. So if they found it the setting similar, I'm happy, I would say, because when it works better as a trilogy. And yeah, of course, I mean, maybe I have to move out of this trilogy and start a new trilogy or start a new film altogether.
Right.
Yeah, that is definitely happening.
I guess one of the common elements, apart from the specific stories and settings, is this exploration of human beings, particularly men, being really pushed
Yeah.
into situations, encountering chaos and so on. You deal with masculinity in very interesting ways in the film. How would you comment on the way you deal with male characters?
Maybe it's all these stories occur in such places. For me, Imayo had some very beautiful female characters. Jallikattu placed women in the right places where they had to be the triggering point of the film. Rather, I mean, they are the reason for a major event to occur in the film. And when it comes to Churli, I would say that when the setting, wherever it demanded, when I have used female characters in a nice way, they are strong too, according to me. Maybe because I am in the middle of more stories which deals with masculinity, or where my observations go to such places that when I have not ended up doing a film with more feminine angle to it. But at the same time, my second film, City of God, was three characters who were who I mean, which I think were the center characters of the film, and whoever played the subs like Indrajit or Prithviraj or Rajiv Kulle in that film were all sub actors. Rima, Parvati, and Shweta were the lead in City of God. That was my second film, and at that point, definitely it was like a very strong decision, according to me, for my career as a second film. So, yeah, of course, I mean, if someone has a great, amazing story which can really explore the feminine side, or when to explore something very unique about their angle, and I would definitely take a look at it.
What would you say in your career? You've made so many films and different ones. For you personally, what did you recognize as a clear turning point? Because there is a point at which you knew, okay, this is it, and things have changed for me forever.
That's I would say Angamali Diaries. It was that's only the reason, because when just before Angamali Diaries, the film which I did still remains my favorite, which is Double Barrel. So after that, after the failure of Double Barrel, that happened to be the biggest flop of that year, which had all the stars in our cinema. So I decided to go all the way to make something which is very basic, which had all the elements as basic elements. And it was written by Chamban. It was more of events from Angamali, his hometown. So there was a lot of, I would say, fresh energy which came to me in that film. There was all the things what we did about Angamali Diaries were experiments. Like it had all the actors as freshers. Uh, it had a different way of putting across a narrative, and it was such like energy charged film to come in front of the audience. At the same time, it it wasn't that very easy pleasing kind of a genre we tried.
Yeah.
So so that really gave me the confidence that when I can make a film with the basic necessities, and it was very important for me. Otherwise, I would have stopped film making with that film if it hadn't worked. But for me, Imayo remains very close to my heart, kind of a film, because when, according to me, that is the only film uh, which makes me emotional when I watch it. Maybe a lot of personal reasons behind it, but I mean, that's one film. I mean, after the film, I still have that feeling in my head when I hardly watch my films. The only film I go back to is mostly Double Barrel, just for the fun sake of it. Yeah.
Right. You mentioned this that if Angamali hadn't worked, you might have considered giving up a career in filmmaking. For non-Malayali viewers like myself, we marvel at the kind of films that come out of Kerala, especially over the last few years, which
Okay.
seem to combine the filmmaker's vision, the team's vision, along with elements that connect with viewers. For a non-Malayali person who's following your state cinema, how this says a lot about how evolved the audiences also are, right? Are they really willing to take risks and punts on all kinds of films?
I should say, I mean, the outlook of the filmmakers and the producers and the film fraternity itself has changed drastically because of the kind of film movement happened all around the world. Say, and according to me, now it's much more easier to reach a film. Like say, if someone, your favorite filmmaker is making a film in Spain, you can reach that film in no time. So that gives you such exposure to the world cinema, and the kind of ideas you pick and the kind of people you want to reach became global. So I'm sure that the ideas are more universal nowadays, which people pick. Rather, it is just for the region's sake. So I feel that there are filmmakers uh, from all over India who makes films which are more universal now. So that makes a huge difference as India, as a place, as a filmmaking industry, to come out with such amazing work.
So where does Churuli go from here? I'm guessing it will go to a few more festivals, but what is the distribution plan?
As of now, we've not planned anything as such. So let's see. On the go, we'll decide what is best for the film. But when we will wait for the festival to be over and see how we can place it in such a nice way. Whether it should go have a festival run and then go to the audience, or how it should reach the audience. I mean, it should be a combined decision by the producers.
Right. And will the film be edited differently in a few weeks from now? Will there be a Churuli 2.0?
I'm sure. I would love to because I'm definitely trying to attach an experiment with Churuli as early as possible. I'm working on something which I'm sure will be an experiment in the medium itself. So hopefully, when it works, if it works, I'm really happy.
Well, we look forward to that. Thank you
Sure,
so much,
sure.
Lijo, for a wonderful discussion, and
Thank
good
you.
luck with
Thank you,
Churi and
Nandini.
everything
Yeah.
else. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.